Good evening, Counseling 546. This is my discussion for week 1 on Christian worldview and psychopathology. And I found some really interesting information when I was doing some research. The first thing I decided to do was just do a very basic Google search that said abnormality in the Bible. And I found over 64 different verses that were listed in the Bible as being considered something abnormal that was happening in the Bible. And if you ask me, in today's standards, there was so much abnormality happening in the Bible. And one of the articles that I came across, which was a scholarly journal article, which was actually published in 1974 and written by Kurt Nussbaum, talked about the abnormal mental phenomena of varying emotional depths that are found frequently in the prophets of the Bible, both in the Old Testament and the New Testament. This particular article really concentrated on the Old Testament, though, just saying how a lot of the different things that the prophets did could be looked at as something that was abnormal. For example, when Ezekiel seen the dry bones and he had those visions and God was talking to him in the valley with the dry bones and things like that. Some people could look at that and say that that was an abnormality that he had because he was seeing a vision that wasn't really there. And I think that story about Ezekiel is actually a pretty cool story because of how he got to talk to God. And in one of the commentaries that I read, which is by Baker, it's Baker's Illustrated Commentary from 2012, it talks about Ezekiel's encounter in the wilderness and with the dry bones, but it discusses it in a way that that's just a normal thing that the prophets did in the Old Testament with God. They talked to him and they had relations with him in that way, and there was nothing really abnormal about it. So I guess like a lot of abnormality does have to do a lot with context and culture of the particular situation the person is in, because I've never really thought of anything in the Bible as being abnormal, because all the Bible has like a lot of different miracles and bringing dead people back to life. Even thinking about what Jesus did on the cross, there's no way a normal human being would ever choose to do something like that, but God did. Jesus came down and he was on the cross, and a lot of people, like if someone was just do that right now today, nobody would probably think that was normal, even though it did happen in the Bible. So I guess that's just the context of it. So in the Conley lecture in our class, it said that the prefrontal cortex is the only part of the brain where inputs from ourself converge with the inputs from the outside world. And reading through both of the lectures, also the Thomas lecture on areas of the brain, I didn't really see a lot about like where abnormalities are in the brain, but I did see a lot about the different things that are like different functions in the brain and things like that. So one of my questions is, where does the abnormalities come from? Or is it just that the brain's not working correctly? Or is it just, like I said, just the context of whatever it is going on in that particular situation? We also did a lot of reading in our classroom text about basically how there could be organic causes. It could be an emotional cause. It could be a situation, like a physical situation the person's in, that there's like a lot of different reasons that abnormalities could form. And just like with Freud, he thought everything had to do with the person's childhood as to why they're abnormal as an adult. So the abnormality really has there's a lot of things to consider on things that are abnormal or not. And I just think that it's a very interesting subject that we could talk about for hours.